So this video is going to be a guided inquiry and an embodied inquiry into the unconscious identities we hold around two qualities, one of which is smallness. So that sense that I'm small, I'm kind of weak, vulnerable, and that it's very scary to be fully myself, to be big in the world. And conversely, specialness, so the sense that I'm superior to others, kind of aloof, arrogant. I'm better than others. And weakness carries with it, a sense of sort of, okay, I'm worse and I'm better. And often we have both at the same time. There's kind of a shame-based identity of being weak, small, not good enough. And there's like a pride-based identity that's a compensation, a way of trying to resolve that pain by holding an image of ourselves as, superior, better than, and so on. And so the purpose of this guided inquiry is going to be to make those unconscious images and identities more conscious, so that we're more aware of kind of the structure of our psyche, of our ego, right? So this is helpful. Yeah, it can help us understand ourselves more deeply. So there's going to be two inquiries, one into smallness, one into specialness, and I'm going to be taking you through it. A few quick pointers before we begin. What we're doing here is we're making these unconscious patterns, identities conscious. And it can be helpful to look, or what we're looking for, because I'm going to be asking some questions that kind of just prod and poke the bear a little bit. We're looking for those parts where we're defending something or we're upholding something. Like, no, I'm not that. Or no, I'm this, I'm definitely this. You know what I mean? So that's what you're kind of looking out for. Importantly, no part or image, no part of ourselves that we discover here is bad or wrong. These are all kind of survival adaptations we've had to take on to try and cope with our circumstances, which for many of us, were less than ideal growing up. So it's a kind of curiosity and compassion that we want to bring to this. It's like, let's see what parts of me are here, and sort of exploring them as lovingly as we can. Lastly, this isn't an intellectual exercise. So we're not trying to intellectually figure out, that and that happened, so I probably am quite arrogant, or I probably feel not good enough. We want to, this is the embodied aspect. You want to feel into it. It's like you're asking your body, it's like, where are these parts of me that feel weak or small, or that feel superior and better? And this will become clearer what I mean when we get into it. So let's do it. Let's go for the smallness inquiry first. So just take a moment to get comfortable and to start to kind of get present. So just closing your eyes, going within, and just starting to notice what's in your experience, in your inner world, different thoughts, sensations, and so on. As you're doing that, I'll just give you a quick example of what I mean here, because I've explored this in myself, and I remember in a session with someone, I found that part of me that was weak. I was considering quitting my job and starting this business, and I could feel the fear, and there was this sense of like the person asked me like what are you afraid is going to happen if you act big in the world, if you do this? It was like the words came, I would blow a hole in my life. Right? That's that fear. That's that part of me that feels small. It's like I'm only small and weak, and if I try and do something, it'll just blow everything up and it'll be unsafe. So let's begin. First of all, just pick an area of your life to investigate. This could be your work life, relationships, romantic or friends. It could be your family. It could be money. It could be your kind of authenticity and expression. It could be your creativity. It could be, where you live. Anything. Take a moment to do that. Once you have it, just kind of take a moment to feel into that domain, what's going on there, where you have some challenges, where you feel there are things you want to do. And ask yourself, an embodied level, so staying really present with the sensations and felt sense of yourself in the body. If you had no fear, how would you behave? So in my example with the work, if I had no fear, I'd quit my job and start the business. If you had no fear, how would you behave? Now, take that behavior and imagine it. Imagine that right now you're going to stand up and you're going to do that thing, whatever it is. As if in my example, I'm going to stand up, ring my boss and say, I quit today. And just notice how your body reacts to make it as real as possible for yourself that you're going to do that thing, that fearless thing right now. Noticing how the body reacts. Is there some no in the system, some hesitation, some tension? Some defending? So feeling into this more, imagine you did, you boldly took these steps. What's the worst that could happen? What does your mind project is going to happen? What does your mind learn to assume about how reality works? What's the worst that would happen if, in my case, for example, I quit my job? But you take in whatever example, whatever case you have. Maybe people will disapprove of something. Maybe there'll be a risk of losing something. Now, once you have that worst case scenario, what's the identity of the root of that fear? Who are you such that that worst thing is going to happen? Are you incapable? Are you incompetent? Are you not good enough? Are you too weak to withstand it? There's always an identity and image at the heart of every fear. Explore it. Now that you have that identity, maybe something like I'm weak, I'm small, you're holding on to that identity for a reason. Even though it causes you pain, on some level, it's keeping you safe or helping you survive. So feel into what's the benefit of holding on to this sense that I'm weak or small or whatever identity you have. Does it keep you safe? Does it prevent you from taking any risks? And maybe losing something? Does it protect you from the judgment of others? Does it protect you from making a mistake or failing? Does it protect you from a sense of uncertainty, the unknown, of not knowing what you're doing? Okay, good. So if you want, you can pause the video and take some time just to contemplate that, or maybe have a bit of a stretch and a wiggle or walk around the room if it's maybe poked a few tender spots, which is possible. It's worth noting, apologies, I should have said this earlier, but if at any point, you do feel some difficult emotions coming up, just, do what you have to take a step back and reground yourself. So that was smallness, exploring the different identities and fears and projections of the mind of the negative consequences that are going to happen if we are big in the world and not small, and the way that smallness keeps us safe. Helpful to know. Now let's explore sort of the opposite, that the specialness, the sense of superiority. So in my own life, I've had this. Arrogance is something that I've had to deal with a lot. Again, deep down, there was a sense that I'm not good enough, and making mistakes and being wrong was deeply threatening because it triggered so much pain. So I had to create a veneer of arrogance that I always know what I'm talking about. I'm always right, to protect from that pain. So in the same way, just get comfortable, get settled, get present. And here we go. Think of someone who you feel is not special. They're inferior to you in some way. Maybe it's some politician, some social media mouthpiece, the neighbor you don't like. And once you've got that person, identify the one quality in them that made you choose that person. So maybe they're arrogant, or they're uncaring, or they're callous, or they're stupid. Just pick one quality that makes you think they're inferior. And now I'm going to ask you to do something, and I want you to notice the reaction in the body, in the mind. Imagine that someone else whose opinion you care about, maybe it's your family or it's a friend or your partner, imagine they say to you that you remind them of this person and that quality. It's like, oh yeah, no, that guy's stupidity, it really reminds me of you. Her arrogance, you say, you're pretty arrogant. In a really similar way. And just really make it real that you see this person going, hey, you're like that. Watching your reaction. It's possible that here you notice a bit of defensiveness of some kind coming up. I'm not stupid. I'm not like them. I'm not arrogant. Well, what are you then? What do you hold yourself to be? What's the identity that you're defending here? If you're not arrogant, what are you? Are you humble? If you're not stupid, are you smart? Capable? Just feeling into what that image is that you're identified with, what that word is, that quality that you think you in fact are, because you're not like this person. No, of course not. So once you've got that identity, maybe it's I'm smart, I'm humble. Again, there's a benefit to holding yourself in this way. Holding on to this identity that you now have to defend, notice. So what does identifying with the idea that you're smart give you? What's the payoff? If you present yourself as smart, do you get approval? Do you get attention? Does it protect you from being judged? Or if you identify as being humble, again, does that, when you're humble around your friends, does that get you love and approval and attention? Does it help you belong? Maybe it feels less risky. Just always playing yourself down. Feel into it. Noticing that there is a benefit, there is a payoff to holding this identity. And it's important to notice here that the identity is different from the behavior. So you can behave in a humble way without being identified with humbleness, with humility. When we are identified, it's like it's a part of who we are in some fundamental or absolute way that we then have to defend and uphold, which is a lot of effort and striving. We have to repress any arrogance if we're identified with humility that might come up. So on that note, try this. If your pairing is arrogance and humility, if that inferior quality you found at the beginning was, take it. And can you think of a time when you behaved that way? So if that quality you dislike and the other person is arrogance, can you think of a time when you behaved arrogantly? Or if it's stupidity, can you think of a time you did something stupid? Notice how we repress and deny these shadow aspects of ourselves and uphold instead and defend a image or identity that covers it over. So, I'm humble covers over parts of us that are maybe arrogant. I'm smart covers over parts of us that are dumb. I'm a nice person covers over aspects of us that are resentful or spiteful, that exist nevertheless within us deep down. Feel free to have a stretch and a wiggle coming back to the room as I just talk about this a little bit more. Why would I want to uncover these repressed shadow aspects of myself like spitefulness or arrogance? Because they're there. It's the truth in some way. And when we aren't aware of them, when they're unconscious, they come out sideways. So if we believe that we're only nice and there's not an angry bone in our body, then our anger is going to come out in passive aggression or little snipes, right? It'll find its way out somewhere. Freud called it the return of the repressed. And we can be much healthier when we're able to be honest and make these unconscious parts of ourselves that we have denied conscious. Then we can see them and we can start to work through some of the pain associated with them. And ultimately, you want to go in a direction of where you're not, you don't have this image of, say, arrogance, of humility that you're holding up and showing to the world, and then a repressed side of arrogance that you never let be expressed or seen. You want to transcend both. You want to make both conscious, feel into the pain associated with each of them, because you're getting a benefit out of each of them. You're avoiding pain by holding on to these identities. And then you can transcend them both. And then you find yourself, again, just being able to behave flexibly. You're not wedded to being humble all the time. You can just be how you are in any given moment. The identities and the images force us to be a certain way all the time. You have to be humble. And you can't ever display any arrogance. And then your arrogance, paradoxically, is most on show. So I hope that was interesting. If you have any questions or want to explore these things a bit more, get in touch, and I will see you later.